Welcome to Prepper Nation. I'm John. Happy afternoon. Thank you for shooting a thumbs up, hitting subscribe, and also to the elite members, Patreon and Coffee Club. Thank y'all. You should be getting this early and ad free unless I messed something up, but I tried really hard today. Sorry about yesterday. So, things are about to get spicy. And of course, we're talking about the Summer of Love 2.0, as some of y'all I love whoever coined that phrase. You're awesome, by the way. The Summer of Love 2.0. We knew protests were coming. We've been talking about this since the end, November, December of last year. We knew when the weather gets hot, we're going to see some protests because, it's an election year, huge election. We just didn't know what they were going to be protesting about, the cause they were going to rally behind. But we knew, as I've said time and again, the flip-flops on the ground, they're coming. College campuses, of course, right now, protests are spreading all over the country. Started with the Ivy League schools and the elite schools and heavy liberal schools, but now it's starting to spread to other campuses. In most cases, the police are just there. They're not intervening. In some cases, I know yesterday, Texas, they started removing and arresting people who, were breaking the law, quite frankly. There's some dispute back and forth, but you cross a line at some point. When it's a peaceful protest and then it becomes, well, mostly peaceful, you stepped over a line somewhere, and that's when you've got to start putting people in jail. So House Speaker Johnson was at Columbia University yesterday, which I think is in New York. I think Columbia is in New York. Not 100% sure on that, but I believe that's correct. And I watched his speech. He came out. He's trying to encourage all of the students on campus. As I said yesterday, I think yesterday morning, he's trying to play peacemaker because, again, he's House Speaker, right? He's trying to bring everybody together and heal the nation and lay the groundwork for an eventual presidential run, I think, but I digress. And you could see, if you watched it or if you go back and watch it, you could see the disconnect between Speaker Johnson and the people that were there with him and the people who were protesting, the students. And there are a lot of outside people that are coming in that aren't even students. They're on the campus protesting, which, again, you're kind of getting into a fuzzy area at that point because you want the campus to be safe, blah, 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 right? You could see it. He's trying to, here's my opinion. Okay, this is opinion, but House Speaker Johnson, like him or not, he's a smart guy, and he knows he's a smart guy. And he believes that he's correct on this, and he believes he can make a sales pitch to the protesters and explain to them why they're wrong. You could see this yesterday, the smirk on his face, enjoy your freedom of speech. But about midway through that speech of his, excuse me, I think he started to realize what most of us have known all along. You can't negotiate with these people. They do not tolerate discussion back and forth. They do not critically think. They are extremists. You want to talk about extremists? There you go. These people are just not having it. And he realized this, and you could kind of see his facial expressions start to change because he realized, okay, I shouldn't be here because they're not going to listen to what I have to say. I'm not actually going to accomplish anything here. And there are going to be some bad sound bites coming out of this. And sure enough, in mainstream media, they were talking about how he was getting heckled and stuff like this. Here's the thing. The political elites, both sides, both wings, the political elites and your mayors and a lot of your governors, they allowed this ideology to come into the United States. This is the same ideology that was there for 9/11. Remember 9/11? Anybody alive back during 9/11? It seems like such a long time ago. That same ideology that we were told was horrible, we can't have any part of it, These elites let that ideology into this country. They were sympathetic. They said, yeah, come on in. I don't know what they were thinking. You take somebody who is that extreme from the Middle East, they have that ideology. It's not like you're going to convert them and turn them into the perfect American citizen. They're going to come here, they're going to hate this country, and they're going to do exactly what we're seeing right now. You're dealing with the side effects of something you should have never started in this country. And you could see it on his face yesterday. He's like, there's no turning back at this point. We're not going to be able to calm these people down. So getting to the point of this video, why is this being allowed to happen? Because, quite frankly, it's not illegal to protest on public property, right? And I would think if you're a student at a university, sure, if you're willing to take a 0 for the day or whatever in your classes, yeah, you can protest on the campus. But again, you have a lot of outsiders coming to college campuses. It's heavily organized. As several of you have pointed out, there's a lot of money somewhere, a lot of dark money, a lot of organization. But these campuses and state police, they have the ability to shut these protests down or force them to move somewhere else off campus, okay? But in many cases, that's not happening. Why? Division and distraction. We were talking about distraction this morning, actually, to further divide the country and further distract people from the important stuff. That's my opinion. So, that's how the people that are in power stay in power. When you get right down to it, okay? People that are in a position of power get to stay there by dividing the American people and by distracting the American people. That's mainstream media's job at this point, it seems like. And unfortunately, this will spread. This is not going to stay on college campuses. This will spill over into the streets eventually. Now we know why. Now we know what the rallying cry is. Um, it makes these protesters feel like they are relevant and powerful. I've heard some of them, on TV and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, this is our generation's Vietnam," and that's such a stupid statement because Vietnam we were directly in a war, right? They are protesting a war that we're not directly a part of. We're funding it, but I mean, let's call a spade here. Israel could be doing whatever they're doing without American funding. We're sending them American funding in hopes that our government has some kind of say so on how things go down in the Middle East. And I've heard a lot of them say, we will continue to protest until our demands are met. So I said, well, let me dig around a little bit. What are they demanding? What do they want in order to stop protesting? They want no Israel funding to universities. I would be cool with that as long as that applied to China and everybody else. I don't like the idea, quite frankly, of any country sending funding to our public universities. I think it's a bad idea. So I'm on board with that. No corporate funding from pro-Israel companies. Now, how can you possibly expect to do that? A lot of colleges, they will get donations from CEOs or whatever of companies who've went through like Columbia and stuff like this, their alumni. You don't know every person's position. You don't know if they're pro-Israel. You don't know. It's such a vague statement. But the last one, they're demanding a ceasefire in the Middle East. Bro, how are you supposed to do this? Is the dean, a dean at Columbia University or Yale or wherever, are they supposed to call up Netanyahu and say, okay, we need you to go ahead and stop? This is enough. This is the dean calling, the dean of the science department. Netanyahu, you need to step down. Like, this is never going to happen. You know what I mean? Israel's made this very clear. The United Nations has called for a ceasefire, and Israel told them to go fly a kite. The United States has asked them to back off, and they told the United States to go fly a kite. This is never going to happen. Why? Because Israel has nukes, and they don't give a crap. And if the United States tries to push them into a ceasefire, they're going to tell the United States to get off their coastline. They don't need the funding. You understand? Once a country obtains nukes, the game changes. You can't sanction them because you don't know how they're going to respond. I mean, you can sanction them to a degree, but not fully. That's why we've not fully sanctioned Russia. You know, you can threaten them, but only to a certain degree because, again, they have nukes. You can't go in ground war conventional style because, again, they have nukes. The game totally changes. But these are useful idiots on these campuses. These demands could never be met, and that's the point. Our flip-flops on the ground, our Summer of Love 2.0 attendees, they needed a rallying cry and a set of terms that could never be met. This gives them a blank check to just all summer long now, all the way through the election and beyond. Now, what'll happen if Trump should get into office, in November? It's going to be all about Palestine, and then boom, as soon as that's announced, it's anti-Trump. Seriously, they're going to take the stuff off their head and they'll lay down those flags and they'll be pissed at Trump. They're going to continue to do it. It's going to continue to escalate. These people needed a reason. It's going to spill out into downtown areas. It's going to spill out into populated public spaces in your liberal cities, bridges, highways. They knew they were going to do this again. It's funded, it's organized. This becomes here's the problem. This becomes America's number one story. Right? Once we get past all the Stormy Daniels witch hunting bull crap, as we determined this morning, hopefully y'all determined that, right? Maybe some of you are interested in it. America's going to then be focused on the campus and the spillover into the streets of like Atlanta and stuff like this. And everybody's going to be focused on that when they should be focused on the real things like inflation, like all of these aid packages, like the illegals flooding our border, like the substantial rise in crime here in the United States under Joe Biden, like the C-19 restrictions that most people have forgotten about. We should be talking about the real issues with the biggest presidential election of all time coming up. And the point is, and the reason this is being allowed to happen, is they do not want Americans talking about that kind of stuff. This is nothing more than a distraction. They're using useful idiots who are politically ignorant to distract most Americans from the real issues as we head into November. Because if it comes down to real issues, Joe Biden is going to get smoked like a cheap cigarette. And they can't even hide the fact. So they need to distract people. They need to keep it close enough to bring trucks in the middle of the night. And I hope y'all understand that. Please let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all take care and God bless.